Hello everybody and welcome to another instalment from AGS Success. This time we are looking at the importance of a productive revision timetable. Sometimes the bit that we all actually dread doing, but potentially and arguably the most important part of any revision schedule. I think before we start to unpick how to actually put a productive timetable together, this quotation is really important. Start with the goal in mind. What it's asking us to do is to make sure that we work backwards from our actual exam timetable. There's no point in guessing the order and the structure of which our timetable for revision should look. We must use the timetable that the exam board sets for May, June and July and work backwards from that point. That therefore allows us to prioritise things and put things in a particular order, which is what we're going to look at through this session. So therefore, your timetable, the first thing, step number one we need to think about is planning backwards from your exam timetable. Your timetable itself should reflect the order in which your exams take place. So for instance, if your physics exam is in late June, but as you know your English language exam is very early in May, then you need to plan to revise English language earlier and sooner because your exam's actually sooner. Step 2, though, has also got to do with planning backwards from your exam timetable, because actually a really productive revision timetable allows you and should reflect the skills that your subjects require. So for instance, I'm not just saying do English language and literature early because I obviously teach this subject, but actually it's a very good idea to do English language and literature first, because these subjects tend to let you revise the literacy skills that you need for other subjects, other humanities and heavily literacy-based subjects. The same therefore goes for maths. So if you revise maths early, then you're going to come across similar concepts for subjects such as science and geography. So your maths revision would help you with them. So step 1 is planning backwards from your exam timetable so that you do things in the right order. And step 2 is thinking about how you might be able to group your skills sets in order to make sure that things overlap. Step 3 is also about the idea of starting with your goal in mind and planning backwards from your exam timetable. Thinking about putting all of our skill sets together again. So it makes sense to group mathematical subjects together where possible, as well as literary subjects together where possible. Okay, step 4. So step 4 of a productive revision timetable asks us to think about memory hooks. So as it says on the screen really clearly, a memory hook is anything that triggers your brain to remember something. So these can be colour, music, taste, smell, or even location or the place in which you put something in a room. So try to think about actually putting some of these on your revision timetable. I know it's going to sound daft, but I'm afraid you're just going to have to trust me on this one. By making sure that subjects are all of a similar colour really helps your brain to remember and engage in that timetable. So have geography always in purple on your timetable. Put PE always as bright blue, whatever it is that takes your fancy. Even things such as putting on your timetable the room in which you're going to do the revision for that subject. Sometimes it could be really handy doing revision in different rooms, because then your brain and your memory starts to actually physically see yourself in that room, and that then supports what it is you're trying to remember. So do literature in your bedroom, do maths at the kitchen table, wherever it is, but if you're going to change rooms, think about putting it on your timetable first. Step 5 is all about the timing of your revision. You've got a lot to do, let's be honest, and the sooner we can get this started the better. But when you actually sit down to do your revision, the scientists tell us that actually working in 45-minute slots is the best practice. After these 45 minutes, don't give up though, don't stop revising. What you need to do is just take 10 minutes off. So your timetable should reflect slots of 55 minutes to an hour, but actually you're going to do 45 minutes of active work, and then you're going to get up from your desk for about 10 minutes and do something totally different. Do some relaxation exercises, which is a further AGS Success technique coming soon. Or do a mini workout, have a snack, listen to a piece of music, go to the toilet even. Just do something that takes you away from your desk for 10 minutes, but then make sure you return back to your desk and do the timetabled activity you had planned. Don't then use that as a cheeky skive to go and just have an hour off somewhere. Be firm with yourself, but make sure your brain has chance to breathe and your body has chance to move in between. Step 6 talks about making space for things that you have to do. It'll be foolish of us, any of us, to think that revision can take over everything. It has to be vitally important. It is crucial that you schedule in your revision, but we're all human beings, and it's also very important that you schedule time for the other parts of your life. Either things that you enjoy, such as you're playing your guitar, going to piano practice, going to football training, or things that you have to do. Some of us have commitments outside of school, so it might be that you have to pick up your brother from primary school. It might be that you always have to go around your nana's on a Wednesday night to make sure that she's all right. It's all right to keep these things in. It's actually very important to keep these things in, but they must go on your timetable. That way, you then are giving yourself permission to do those activities, and then you're not going to get stressed because other things are going to get missed. Be mindful, though, of scheduling rest breaks and downtime. You need to lock away your Xbox and your PlayStation for this next 6 months. Grand Theft Auto will still be there in July, and you'll enjoy it a lot more once you get back to it. So when we're talking about commitments, we're talking about scheduling real commitments and not just things that you think are important at the moment. Your exams are important, so those other little cheeky things like your Xbox, they can just get hidden away for a bit. Alright, step 7 is a way to make sure that our revision becomes very specific, and again, you timetable for it. Don't just put on your timetable physics or PE or literature. Make sure you're stating on your actual timetable the specific unit you plan on revising, the specific content you want to go through, a specific area of the exam you might want to put on there. Go as far as putting down specific questions, key facts, and even key vocabulary. Learning 10 words, for instance, is so very, very important, but it's important that you put that on your actual timetable. This, therefore, then means that your timetable is going to have to be adapted and altered. If you do your timetable electronically, the main boxes can stay there, the order in which you're doing your subjects can stay there, but weekly or fortnightly, you can be altering the actual specific content you want to talk about. That is so important to make sure that your timetable isn't vague, and it also means that when you sit down to do your revision, you're not going to spend your first 10 minutes trying to figure out what actually you're going to do. Step 8 goes with the previous step really nicely, to making sure your revision is goal-orientated rather than time-orientated. I've said to do things in 45-minute slots. That's the time that you're going to give yourself every session you sit doing to it. But make sure you tell yourself specifically what those slots are going to include. So it might be that in 45 minutes for physics, I'm going to do paper 1 and I'm going to memorise 10 facts. It might be that for maths, I'm going to do 45 minutes, I'm going to do paper 2, but I'm going to solve 5 equations. Or it might be that for English language, I've got 45 minutes, I'm going to look at a question 3, as opposed to making it these vague, massive pieces that seem really scary when you sit down, and again, can actually lend yourself to actually wasting time. Step 9 is all about practicing the right things. You're going to come across this phrase that's in red on your screen quite now. You're going to come across this a lot in these AGS success sessions. We're told time and time again that practice makes perfect, but I actually think that's a lie. I don't think that's true. I think what actually makes perfect, that purposeful practice makes perfect. Therefore, you've got to ask yourself the following questions. What am I actually repeating? How purposeful is this repetition being? Do I actually physically need to schedule this repetition or practice? Or have I actually got this piece of work? Do I need to move on to something and then come back and purposely repeat this unit later on? Do I need to timetable the whole paper or the whole question, or can I do a little bit more specific and purposeful tasks? So keep in your head, please, that practice doesn't make perfect. Purposeful practice makes perfect. We're going to come on to this section on revision timetables now about success. Again, this picture, this quotation, you will come across a number of times in this AGS success sessions that we're putting together for you. Success equals effort, which is up to you, strategies, which you can get from AGS success, plus help from others, which you can get from anyone around you who's willing to give you some time. And that is super important. It doesn't need to be a parent or a teacher or a grandma. It can be a friend, it can be a next door neighbour, it could be somebody who's in exactly the same situation as you. But sometimes not revising on your own can be the best thing for you. And again, there are going to be some strategies coming up later on in the AGS success sessions that help you look at how you work together to get your self-support. But therefore, these need timetabling. So step 10 for success is thinking about this idea of getting help from others. Now this is going to sound really harsh, but we do need to be realistic. Often people walk out of exams and I'll say to them, how did you do? And they'll say, oh, I tried my best. And in my head I think, okay, but did you prepare your best? If you haven't prepared your best beforehand, you're never going to be able to try your best on the day, because trying your best on the day is not good enough if the preparation hasn't gone before it. So that's why this revision timetable and revision in general is key. You need to walk out of that exam hall in the summer thinking to yourself, do you know what? I not just tried my best today, but I've tried my best for the last 4 or 5 months through my revision and my work in class. So therefore, I know I've done the best that I possibly can do. So put on your timetable blocks of time where others will quiz you, so that when you are preparing your best, you're getting that support. But make sure that those blocks of time go on their timetables or in their diaries as well. So if you're going to buddy up with someone in from your English class, brilliant, but make sure you've cross-referenced your timetables so that you're both revising the same thing at the same time and giving yourselves permission to do so. Alright, so there we have it, the steps to success for your revision timetable. Plan backwards from your exam timetable itself. Do English and maths early and at the beginning of every timetable revision so that your skills are all being put together. Group your subjects according to similar skills. Use memory hooks on your timetable. Plan 45-minute slots with 10-minute rest and relaxation breaks in between each session, but make sure you stick to your revision session. Timetable for those other avoidable commitments, or occasionally timetable for things that you just enjoy doing. Make your timetable very specific. Make your timetable goal orientated. Make it so that you can do purposeful practice to make yourself perfect, and get help from others. The big thing in the bottom of the slides here that's in blue is that your timetable is key to your success, but it needs to be reviewed regularly. You can't just make a timetable now and then it's going to stay together forever. You could keep the timetable slots in the subject order, but the content and the specific nature of that purposeful practice needs to change weekly, if not fortnightly. So again, it might be that you actually put on your timetable on a Sunday afternoon to actually reschedule your timetable. So give yourselves 45 minutes to go back to your timetable and tell yourself what targets and what areas you need to perfect next week. Because obviously every week you'll be getting targets from your teachers and practice in class that should impact on your timetable, because that will impact on your revision. And finally from me on the revision timetables, think about this quotation that's on the screen for you now. There is no glory in practice, but without practice there is no glory. Revising is dull, everybody. Revising can feel like it is the most disgusting, horrible thing you'll ever do. There's no glory in it whatsoever. You're on your own, you're with your friend, but there's no praise for that revision bit. The glory and the praise and the satisfaction and the pride comes from when you walk out of that exam and you think, yes, do you know what? I nailed that. And I nailed it because I did purposeful practice beforehand to make myself perfect on the day. There's no glory in practice, everybody, but without practice there is no glory. And I need you and I want you to be so full of pride of yourself when you come out of that exam hall, because you know you've prepared yourself for your best. Thank you for listening, everybody, and I hope that's a whistle-stop tour as to how to make your revision timetables productive and purposeful. Good luck.